We thought about everything so that we can get your team making decisions and choices quicker, but not taking you out of it, because if you automate too much of this, it's going to go rogue. If you automate too much of this and you don't actually pay attention to it, like this is there to help co-create with every single one of your staff members. And for you as the business owner, the founder, the visionary, it's there to work with you to help you get things done at a much, much quicker rate. You know, that's what our goal is to end the confusion in chaos in everybody's life, because running a business is absolute chaos. And if someone tells you it's an easy walk in the park thing, you haven't done it long enough.
Welcome back to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DiCioccio, and today's guest is a powerhouse entrepreneur who's rewriting the rules of business by blending cutting-edge AI with conscious leadership. He's the founder of PonoAI, a platform helping founders turn big ideas into bold execution. And he's also the co-founder of MIT 45, a company that scaled to 300 million as a valuation. He's also the host of the Spiritual Capitalist podcast, where business meets mindfulness and success is measured by more than only revenue. Welcome to the show, Dalton Locke.
Thank you so much. That was one heck of an intro. I really appreciate it, man. So thank you for having me on. I'm really excited to jump into this.
We're excited to have you here, brother. You and I just met 10 minutes ago or so, maybe 20 minutes ago, for the audience that's tuning in. So I always like these interviews where I'm literally meeting someone in the moment. I feel it's more organic. I got some stuff planned for us, but this is designed to be a conversation where I'm getting, and really our audience is getting to know you a little bit more. So with that, I got your website, your social media, everything's clickable in the show notes for our audience so they can tap into what you're doing. I want to make sure, did I say your business is right? I forgot to check with you. MIT or is it MIT 45?
It's MIT 45 and it's PonoAI.
What did I say? Pono?
Pono. It's a Hawaiian term. It means balance and it means righteousness.
I love that. Oh, dude, I love that. I live out here on the East Coast. I just told you I'm in the outskirts of Philly right now, but my heart is in Hawaii. I was in Maui once, and it's like, you know, every day of my life since then, I'm like, why don't I live there? Why don't I just live there and have a bike and sell banana bread on the side of the beach and like just surf all day long? Like, that would be beautiful. But no, I got a lot of stuff going on here with business and with my family and stuff, as you know. I told you off camera there. But yeah, I love that Hawaiian kind of that chill, like, you know, right, hang loose attitude. So Pono. Pono?
It's Pono. And yeah, Hawaii's...
so you got to say the O sound. So Pono. All right. Pono. So you got to remember to say the O. All right. And so we got that down. What is MIT 45? What does MIT mean?
MIT 45 is a company that was established about 13 years ago, roughly. You know, as the process has gone, but we sell a product called Kratom. It's Kratom. It's a product that's an anti-inflammatory. It's been around for a long time. It's a natural plant, and really it changes people's lives, and it's changed my life.
Kratom. And I did a little bit of research on it to see what the heck that was. That was news to me. So I know a lot of people are familiar with CBD. This is a whole different plant grown in a whole different location, that whole thing, right? What are some of the differences and the benefits of Kratom compared to a CBD?
You know, I can only tell you really about my experience with Kratom. Anytime that my body has a lot of inflammation in it, that is a product that I usually go to at that point in time, because it helps me feel better. It gives me a sense of energy. It just kind of takes away those feelings so that I can kind of move through life a lot easier. So
does it give you like it gives you the clarity, but with like, it's almost like a relaxed clarity? Would you say?
It's like a sense of energy. I mean, it comes from the coffee family that it's a plant, right? And it comes from a tree. And that tree is out of Indonesia and in Thailand and other places like that. But it's been around for a long, long, long time, right? It's literally a tree that's grown. We take those leaves and we strip out the veins of them. And then at that point in time, we turn them into powders, capsules, liquids, and so forth. And so
you have a whole product line.
Yeah, we do. We have a product line. We're probably at this point in time one of the largest kratom companies in the world, which is crazy to say looking back at where we started from, which was like with $50,000, and now to see that, we're close to $100 million in revenue and, massive facilities and dealing with business on a whole different level. And, for the most part, I sit on the board in that company, and there's a lot of other people that are a lot smarter than me that are running the day-to-day operations and taking it to the next level where it needs to go.
All right. So I had a ton of other things prepared, but hearing this, I think we should spend some time on it, like to really get inside your head. You took it started with about 50 grand of working capital, if you will. It was you and how many people on day one?
Let's see. It was me and 4 other people roughly. We had a bunch of salesmen in and out of the company. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
small, look, when we first started this company, we were manufacturing, in Huntington Beach on a table which I
Yeah.
even think about that now. And I'm like, geez, I mean, that changed so fast because we just wanted to see, and test the market and see if there was any interest in it. Nobody even knew what Kratom was at the time. And I
Mhm.
remember actually, getting
Well,
these capsules.
when you say at the
and
time,
packaging them.
when was it? Like, when did you guys
About
kick
13
this
years
off?
ago, roughly.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So
So
it's
you've
been,
been doing this for a while.
it's taken a long time for it to get the adoption that it has. And I had no idea that it would get the adoption that it did, but there were so many different scientific benefits that we were seeing from this plant. And some people had understood it and a lot of people hadn't, but it had been around for, like I said, really thousands of years that the
Wow.
natives were using this plant.
Yeah.
So it just so happened that we kind of stumbled upon this. My partner did actually, and he asked me to come.
That's
and
what I
help
was
him
going
with.
to ask you. How
Yeah,
did you get, like, you had to experience Kratom or someone
I
told you about
did.
it, a light
Yep,
bulb went off, and then
I,
what
I
made you
did.
say, hey, this is actually something I want to turn into a business, not just like recreational use or whatnot?
I found out through a lot of the research that it was helping people that were, at least a lot of the research I was reading, that it was helping people that were going through some really dark times with addiction because the way it was getting people so that they weren't sick from like coming off of opiates and so forth. And
Wow.
in my own personal life, I've had family members that are addicted to lots of different substances. And I've had a lot of friends of mine die, and I've had family members die. And so I was really looking for a solution, um, how to get people, away from that. And so that was really what started the curiosity for me with all the research I had done. But then really what I had found out though, that there were so many more benefits that the research was showing that, this plant had up to, 52 different alkaloids in it. And it was just a plant that was really helping people with all kinds of things. And I can't give you all the structured claims. You'll have to do your
Right.
research on the plant yourself, simply because I'm not allowed to do that. I wish I could say a lot more about it. And one day I believe that we'll be able to, say a lot more about it from a legal perspective. But for now, just know that it's a natural plant, that it has a lot of benefits. And through that, we were getting so many stories from different people that were utilizing that product in their life. And all of a sudden it was like, wow, this product is really making a difference. And so I think
Hmm.
that lightning, that moment that goes off, and for me, it wasn't my idea to market and sell this product. That was my business partner, Sean Brady. And,
Okay.
he's a little bit older gentleman than I am. And, he's taught me so much. And we've been on this really intense journey together. And there's been so many different versions of our company and different names of the company and a lot of things that happen along that path. But really, I think what made Kratom Kratom was tragedy. And why I say that is because in 2016, we had taken this company from, $50,000 that was borrowed and then took it to several $1,000,000. In 2016, the DEA tried to make it a Schedule One, which means that basically you're sitting on, in their eyes, you're sitting on heroin because the media was bastardizing this. Because a lot of times what we don't understand, we try to destroy. You can look at any kind of spiritual belief and you can look at people that were creating miracles, and then, people were trying to destroy those people because they didn't understand it. Or even like right now in the market with AI, people are afraid of it, right? So
Hmm.
what I noticed is it's about kind of being in front of that. Well, nobody knew what it was, but in 2016, when they tried to ban it, all of a sudden it was on Forbes magazine, it was
Yeah.
on, CNN, CNBC. So it was being now brought to the awareness of the general public, and that awareness now brought a whole other light to our marketplace. And there
So
was
did
a
you
ton
say
of shift
it hit
happening from
its
that.
tipping point at that time?
For
Like,
sure. And it's
yeah.
still a tipping point. I mean, there's very few people, if I go on the street right now and talk to people about Kratom, very few people either know what it is or understand what it is, right? They might think it's something like a CBD, or they might think it's something like, cannabis or something like that, but it's not psychoactive. It's not going to, give you those effects that those types of plants will. Is something
Mm-hmm.
that you can utilize, and from that point in time, really, get the benefits from that. But it's been one heck of a ride.
We talked about Hawaii to kick off the show, and
Yeah.
to me, it's like you were riding that big tidal wave.
Yeah.
You
Well,
were surfing that wave, right? Like,
Hawaii's interesting. We're going back to 2016 when we found out this was going to be a Schedule 1. We lost everything. Like, we literally took our entire inventory and brought it down to the infirmary and lit it on fire because that's what we were told to do. And so
wow.
we went from
Because of the regulations and everything,
Correct.
you just thought game over.
Yep.
Now, was that something that is it like a presidential thing? I know years ago, and funny enough, we talked off camera, when I was in a band, there was a short window of time when I liked to smoke these Kratom cigarettes, like before or after a show. Do you ever see like the Jarum Blacks? They're like a Kratom from Indonesia, actually, and they have like a crackle to them.
Are they
and
wrapped in a leaf?
They're
Yes.
literally black, and then they had like a flavored filter, like a cherryish flavor, and they were really good. Like, I never liked smoking, and I just tried that, and I was like, oh, these like have like a good, just But anyway, the reason I bring it up,
Yep.
yeah, they still sell them, but they're not available in the States because Obama actually banned flavored cigarettes at that time during his presidency because he thought it was attracting younger like kids and stuff into it because of the flavors and whatever. Although now they have like, there's so many different options of different flavored things that they can get their hands on, like the electric cigarettes and stuff like that. When that whole industry didn't even really exist yet at this point. So
Right.
why I share that is the president made that determination. And so that whole industry, got crushed in the US. So is that something where you saw that regulation happening, but you thought maybe, hey, there's maybe light at the end of the tunnel, maybe the next administration or this could change, or when people find out that it's really not bad for you or whatever?
That was always the hope, right? And there's a lot of things that we could say that's the hope, right? So peptides, for a good example. We know that peptides are very beneficial. We know that they're helping people. I was just at a peptide conference recently, and they've banned a lot of these things. So just because they're good for us, or just because they're going to be beneficial for us, a lot of times the FDA and the health departments and so forth, they're looking out for public concern. And I really feel like at the time there was so much misinformation that was being put out there, must-run news articles that we can look back to. There was a lot of things going on behind the scenes, I believe, that the FDA themselves did not want to end up in another opiate epidemic, and they were afraid that that's what this was. And so again, if we don't understand something, we try to destroy it. And what shifted in that point in time was that the general public, a lot of veterans, a lot of moms, a lot of people that were not addicts, these were literally people that this was just helping them with their day-to-day experience and their day-to-day life, have a much better life. They came out and they would not stop calling the DEA's office saying, hey, you're so wrong about this plan. And so eventually it was overturned, that had never happened before in history. They said by December we were done. Right? We're done.
Yeah.
And if you had any amount of product in your facility, that would be considered Schedule 1. So if you have dust, that's like having heroin, which was crazy for them to say. It was an intense time. And at that time in 2016, when we were lighting our product on fire, I ended up in the hospital with blood clots in my lungs due to stress. And then that year was a really, really dark year. But I ended up in Hawaii because you brought that up. I'll bring this up. I ended up in Hawaii at Bellows Base with my mother and my father. I was about $30,000 in debt, and very suicidal. Not that I was going to do it, but my emotions, my feelings.
Yeah.
I just felt like, gosh, damn it, I failed again. Like I can't win. I never can win. And it doesn't matter how hard I work, what I do, it's just not enough. And I'm sure a lot of viewers and a lot of listeners have felt that before. And I can say this for me personally, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And what it was for me is that I would connect and I would meditate and I would just sit and or pray or whatever you want to call it. And I know that there's something bigger that brought us towards this plant. I know there's something bigger that's always working in the background. And when I was meditating in Bellows, which is a base for the Air Force, in the morning, about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, I heard a voice, and it's hard to explain because it wasn't as if it was outside of me. It was internal, and I saw a vision. And what I had seen with most of the things I do, I see visions and, inspirations or intuitiveness. And that was to read the book, The Science of Getting Rich. And I thought, I've never heard of this book before. And that book was by D.
Wow.
Waltels. D. Waltels, I believe is how you say it. And I was like, man, how do I find this book? Because I was like, I need to read this book now. Well, what I found out, it was in public domain, which means someone had been recording it on YouTube. And I listened to it, and for some reason or another, I had given up on the dream because it had been crushed so much. But yet I went back home with my partner because he was working on some things. And Sean Brady's the most relentless man I've ever met. And that's now a lot of the ways I think about life is that you walk towards the things you want. The universe will continue to show you how difficult it might be. But the universe is always constantly asking us, or God or source or whatever, at least in my belief, is how bad do you want this? Because you're going to have to go through hell sometimes to get to heaven. And the deeper our roots can go to hell, the deeper they can reach to heaven. And so in that process, it just brought me back. And when I came back, it was no longer about the money because I wanted to help people, yes. But when I got a glimpse of what kind of money we could be making, that got me excited because I was always looking to change my trajectory in life, change our family tree, just do a bunch of things that were different. And when I let go of just chasing money and I started just getting all these letters from people that needed the plant, and there's so many stories about that, I just decided to be of service to that plant. And then all of a sudden, just everything took off for us. I mean,
yeah. Dude, that's incredible. I appreciate you sharing that. There are a lot of I designed this show when I created it. The reason I created it is I wanted the same moment. When I was listening to a lot of podcasts back in 2015, 16, when I was in sales before I started the company, it was Lewis House. It was Ed Milet. There were just so many great shows that still are amazing. Where entrepreneurs would come on and share their heart like that. And there is a lot of the crash and burn before you build back up. And that's, it's kind of interesting. Life is like that too, a storm, right? There's this horrible storm, everything's blowing. And then after that, it's beautiful calm, right? And the beaches are beautiful. And it's like, oh, okay, that was just a temporary storm. And a lot of people too have these kind of come to God moments, whether it's literally like finding their God or finding the higher power, or just, like you said, you had to go through hell till you found clarity in what you really wanted. For whatever reason, that's kind of how humans are wired. When we get everything kind of taken away is when we can start to build fresh. And you connected more with why the product, why Kratom was the thing that you wanted to go, really expand, and you saw a vision for it. And so that's just a great reminder for people you don't have to crash and burn, but make sure you clear time and space and energy so you can have that internal moment with yourself to really ask yourself, am I doing what I want to do? What does my vision look like for this product, this business, this thing I want? And how do I envision getting there? And you had that moment, but unfortunately it was, you had to, really burn first before you got there. So let me ask a couple of questions. I have a couple follow-ups on that.
Sure.
So Kratom, so you're still in the Kratom business, but here's the deal. 100 million in revenue is huge, and 3 million or 300 million valuation, which is awesome. That doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of hard work, energy, a great team. It has to be a great product, customer reviews, customer referrals, the whole deal. So let's talk to our audience about that. So you had this moment where it possibly could have all gone. You had to burn the product. What was it, chapter 1, you said?
Yeah. That is definitely in chapter 1 of many, many chapters of other books.
Right. And so what was the name of the book that you
The Science of Getting Rich?
Science of Getting Rich kind of spawned you to the next level.
It's that
walk us through that though. You already? You go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's that moment in time where there's just sometimes things that just speak to you, and you can read them again or look at them again. It might not speak to you the same, but for me, that's just what spoke to me at that moment in time, and it took me back into focus, because one of the things a lot of my mentors have taught me, which is why I've created some of the tools I've created lately, and that is that we have to focus, because there are so many so many distractions out there, and I get pulled into them all the time. And I have to continually ask what you just brought up a second ago is I have to ask my heart, like, really, truly, is this what I want? Am I willing to walk through hell to be able to get to the other side of this? And once I get through hell, am I willing to do it again? Because I think that's a lot of times what we forget as human beings, and definitely as visionaries, entrepreneurs. And that is
Yeah.
that we think that once we hit this one little, peak, that we're done. But the
Yeah.
problem is with that thought process is that we're going to set ourselves up for failure, because you running this show and having this incredible business that's helping people, run and operate podcasts, and, some of the things you had to do in your sales journey and all of that. There's always different versions of ourselves. And there is zero arrival in business. There is zero arrival in our personal development. And so we have to stay hungry, but also enjoy the process of where we're at right now in this current moment, because today is the best day. We woke up. Today is the present. Tomorrow morning, will we? I hope. All of our listeners wake up. Will we? I don't know. So it's
Yeah.
leaning into that gift.
Incredible insight. Like, again, making that time so you can have those deeper, more meaningful conversations with yourself. And I think what happens, and I'll speak for myself, when you're running a business, there's so many tasks to do. Like there's tasks that you shouldn't even be doing that other team members need to have that delegated to them. There's things you're doing. There's your personal life. There's family members. There's, if you, like you have 2 businesses plus your own podcast. That's, people have their passion projects. They like to do certain things that keep them excited and energized. And I think that's all beautiful. But when all that's going on, the one thing that's not going on is you're not really getting level with yourself and saying, what am I actually like? I'm going all in on this, but am I moving in the right direction for me, for my personal fulfillment?
Yes.
So I'd love to hear more about that from you. But I have a couple follow-up questions. So I, funny enough, called it MIT 45. It's MIT 45, but what does MIT mean? Did I miss that somewhere in the story?
No, I mean, it's just, so you have, there's a lot of different meanings behind it, but I mean, really, if you just look at the plant in general, right? There's different alkaloids inside that plant. And at one point in time, we had a product that was 45%. So, and we still have it. It's one of our, it's not at one point, but that was our only product, right? So we had a
Yeah, that
product,
was
it said MIT 45 on it. And,
mhm.
that's just really kind of where it started. Was it's an active alkaloid inside the plant, 45%. And so that's
Okay.
what we had named the bottle. And that was one of our products. And we had a lot of other products at the same time as well, but we slowly started removing them because they weren't really they weren't making money, and they were taking away from the main focus, right? Again,
Yeah.
because it's easy to get distracted by so many different things. But
It's
now,
like the ice cream
really,
place, you start to have 100 flavors and then people forget what you're really good at. And it's like, hold on, no, this is a milkshake place that's really good at, and if you have like your quality, top notch, top 3 things people get that you do better than everyone else, that's great. And you can have some additional sides. But I think a lot of times in business, I made the mistake early on is trying to be everything to everyone. And then you're really nobody. Right,
oh,
to
yeah.
anybody. It's like you're just smudge. You're not really clear. There's no clarity. So so you realize, hey, maybe we have too many products. Some of these aren't even serving us well, and customers aren't buying them. So that's the idea of MIT 45. I get that. Okay, I'm going to say it the right way this time. Pono. So Pono.ai. When did you get the idea for that? And then did you decide I want to do this in addition to MIT 45? Like, how did that all work itself out?
I mean, so, several years ago, I decided that for the company to be able to be where the company needs to be so I handled it a lot of myself and my partner. And I have another partner as well, Ryan Adele. And, we wanted to take things to a different level. And I knew for me, being at the helm as a CMO was not going to be as beneficial. And so I decided, hey, listen, I'm better off putting someone else in a position that's amazing at this, that this is what they do every single day long. And I'm not just trying to fit a role, right? And a lot of times as founders, you're trying to fit a role and you're trying to find out where you fit in, especially if you have multiple partners, because everybody's really good at other things. And a lot of times your
Yeah.
partners, you're really a lot alike. You just don't realize it. And someone's got to be able to make those decisions. And so my partner at one point in time, Sean, was our CEO. I was more of our CMO, and we both ran all kinds of hats all day long. There was no it was just titles. And then eventually, as we started to get it to be a bigger company, you have to make different decisions. And so through that, I I was just trying to figure out kind of what to do. And I was doing all kinds of different things. I had an NFT project, and that wasn't exactly the most successful. Learned a lot through it though. And so I can't sit on the sidelines and just kind of do nothing. But going back to Hawaii, because, that's an interesting thing. I was in Hawaii and
I want to go back so bad right now. And the more we talk about it, it's like, I'm just going to book it.
I decided, so I had found out that there was an alchemist that was dealing with plants. And I thought, I wonder what other things inside of Kratom that we could deal with from a different perspective that we're not aware of, right? Because you always got to be curious. And so I just went out and looked at his lab, and it was really interesting. But while I was there, I was in an ashram in Maui, and I had some issues with my assistant, let's say. And through that, I had to ask myself a question, because I'm always viewing things at a 10,000-foot view. I am not a project manager. I don't think that way. Like, I'm just like, we're gonna do this thing, and I just run. And that sometimes can be problematic. You were talking about it before. Do we build a parachute on the way down, or do we try to build it first and make better decisions and choices and allocate finances better and bring on teams and not get stuck in that like paralysis side of things? And so through that process, I met a gentleman that was doing a lot of stuff with AI, and I never really heard much about it. And that was about 4 years ago now. And we started talking, and all of a sudden I was like, hold on a second. I could solve my biggest problems with my assistant. So I'm going to build this thing. And that really took me on this really crazy journey over the last 3 years of my life, and reinventing myself and studying AI, like literally obsessively every single day, since I've known about it, well before ChatGPT, so I could build a program and a platform that would change people's lives, because I knew that I wasn't the only one that was suffering from this paralysis side of not making decisions. And I knew that everybody on the internet, for the most part, that want to start a business, they go to YouTube, they go to podcasts, they go to other people, and they're getting all this information, but really AI takes the collective information and it condenses it down. So I'm like, why are we wasting so much time? Like, this is so inefficient. And our staff members too, wow, they're being inefficient as well. And what if we can start to condense time down, not so that we can overwork people, but so that we can actually explore more of humanity and get ourselves out of the machine? Because I started to realize that the web would be, and I really believe this theory, that it's going to be the dead web. Right now, about 60% of all content is being written by AI. And you can see the patterns. It's very clear what it is.
Yeah.
But eventually it's going to be like, hey, I need to get this, my AI, or order this. It'll talk to you to book an appointment. Like, all this is going to be automated. And eventually I believe that we'll be out of the internet. And so I wanted to build systems now that could help me do that later. And so that's been a passion project of mine. I bought a development company. I knew nothing about software development. I mean, I have learned so much. And I think that is really what entrepreneurship is about. And why I talk about spiritual capitalism a lot is because it's this concept of if you want to dive the deepest into your soul and into your own humanity, and to find out like what you're made of, put yourself in a position where you put your money on the line, your ideas on the line, your vision on the line to the public, and then don't fail in public, right? Like, and all the insecurities that come up during that path, because the company I built with MIT 45, it's the team that built that. Like, I never want to say that it was me, because it wasn't. It's been so many people that have been at MIT 45, they're not at MIT 45, that help get it to where it's at today. No different than Pono right now. It's our developers, it's our engineers, it's our COO, it's our development team, it's our designers, it's everybody. But I can tell you, because we're trying to do something that has never been done before, working with many models and making AI simple for people, it is one hell of a lift. And you have to ask yourself, is how bad do you want something, and are you willing to do it? And is it about the money, or is it about impact? And so it's been a lot of learnings for sure, but it's been fun at the same time.
Well, what I love about both of the businesses we talked about is the first one was connected, was pulling at your heartstrings. You saw family members struggling with different drugs and opiates and all this stuff, and you're like, hey, this can be a transition out of that into a healthier, better lifestyle for them. So there was that purpose behind your mission. And then with this, you had, some bad experiences with assistants and just things not getting done timely, and your team was not as efficient as it could have been. And so you had this desire, this want for a better way, and AI was part of that better way. And I think that's a beautiful thing. There's a lot of people tuning in, just a lot of people in general still that are a little, AI is a little bit of a standoffish word, like because they may have a family member who's in an industry that can be highly impacted by it. And I think that's a very real thing and a very understandable, and I can get why people would be a little freaked out by it. But when we think about there's a tool, there's a better way, it's kind of like everyone was, on foot at one point, then we were horse and buggy, now we're automobile, now we can get city to city by an airplane, we're shooting rockets and re-landing them in different locations and stuff like that with what SpaceX is doing. There's like the way things, just look at travel, how that's changed in 150 years time. Well, that's kind of what this is. And at the same time, yeah, there's going to be jobs that are impacted, and that's horrible. I do believe there's going to be new jobs created from it. But you're the expert on AI compared to me. I do use AI. We use it as a business right now for collecting ideas and thoughts. Like from a 60-minute interview like this one, we have somebody who puts it through AI and then rewrites the show notes, and if you mentioned your websites and all that, or if you told me about that book earlier that you mentioned, we can link that as a resource. And that gets there's still the human element behind it, but it's getting done a lot quicker now. It's more concise. And that person that's doing it on our team is way more effective using AI than if they sit, because they literally used to do this like not that long ago, listen to every episode and write notes on their computer and then add in all the, so it took a lot longer. But I do believe, maybe not the labor jobs where we're talking about like at, automotive, where robots can build a car now, maybe completely. So then at that point, you maybe need an engineer to oversee the process instead of maybe 50 guys. There's 1 or 2 guys plus all automation. Those jobs definitely I can see being at risk. But I think more in the creative space, there's going to be new jobs that are created with the use of AI. What's your takeaway on that?
Yeah, it's a question I'm asked often, right, about AI and jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a mixed conversation, and here's why. Is that whether we like the fact that it's happening, it's occurring, right? There is no doubt that is going to remove people from jobs. Now, also many, many years ago, there used to be a lot of businesses, a lot of people in the United States and all over the world, that the way that the world was built, if we just really want to be clear on this, was through slavery. And a lot of jobs that people have right now, mundane jobs, brainless jobs that don't bring any real impact to their personal life. Yes, it makes them money, but they're not really happy. That's also kind of another form of slavery if you think about it. Making just enough money, working out the sweat of someone else's back. It's something I've thought about a lot. And so then the question says, okay, well, if we can replace those jobs with machines, and then we can turn around, and I think we will really move into universal basic income. I think that will absolutely happen. And I think what will be the most valuable thing, because mark my words, the internet and everything you see will be very hard for you to believe unless it's backed by something like a blockchain that you're able to like edify that is actually what has happened. And that is a person that said that thing. We're not going to trust a lot. And you can even see it right now when you're looking at people's cognitive bias, when they're looking at content, they're asking, is this written by AI? Like all of a sudden there's this new, like, I don't know if I trust this. I had a conversation with a gentleman last night. I think it was like 17,000, and I believe 17,000 new books coming out on Amazon a day right now because of AI. And so now the question is,
like some people turned it into a business where they're making children's books and there's no artists. They're just running prompts and, hey, make a orange dinosaur, and then like on page 2 make a purple velociraptor, and they have like a children's like whatever, it's a story, but there was no artists involved. Now where I didn't mean to interrupt you, but where the quality can still lie is it a good story?
Correct.
Did someone write the story? If AI wrote the whole thing and did and someone's making profit on it, that's where I start to feel like I think I'm not a big fan of that. But if someone reads the book and they enjoy it, then is there value in it? Should someone get paid? I mean, someone did have to create it. It doesn't create itself. I get it. There's an argument there, but I just am more behind it being utilized as a tool so people with creative ideas can do more and do it faster.
Yes.
And like the efficiency in business goes up to a point where I was listening to Rogan and he had on Bernie Sanders a couple days ago, which I thought was a really interesting conversation. It was actually really good. If anyone's tuning in right now, I recommend you tune into that. They were talking about AI and jobs too. And one of the things that came up in conversation was the idea of, well, can someone who's normally working 40 to 60 hours a week get their job done quicker and more efficiently?
Yes.
Where they can now have a third weekend day. So maybe Fridays are a weekend. And so you pay the people the same amount because you're not, they're doing their job more efficiently and you're not paying AI to do the job. So keep their pay the same, but now you're giving people a better working conditions. And so you're actually making that company and that job, the relationship between employee and company gets a little bit better, right?
Yeah. So to go back on the conversation, I just want to end on this point, on that thought process. And that is that if Amazon right now is doing 17,000 books a day, I met an author last night in a mixer. And when I was talking to him, he says, oh yeah, people used to come up to me and they'd ask me about my book and what I wrote and this and that. And I said to him, won't it be interesting in the future when somebody has written a book with AI and someone brings something up and they won't know it? So it's this conversation is, are we actually really plagiarizing, or are we actually utilizing our own knowledge, our own experiences and so forth to be able to tell a better story, to be able to make sure it's edited better, to be able to write it a different way, to be able to keep it in our tone? So there's a lot of that. But what you said about Bernie Sanders is what I have a hypothesis on, and why I built Pono is because if we can get people, this is what I see the world coming to. When you use a tool like Pono, you tell it all about your business and what you're doing. You explain your problems, your challenges. It helps you write a complete roadmap how to get there. It builds a documentation. It tells you exactly what to do. And then you work with Pono, or you assign your VA or your staff members to it. And so now they can work through these problems much quicker and faster, because what I realized in our own organization, you got Monday, people coming in, they're just getting into work. They're talking about the weekend. They're not doing a whole lot. Tuesday, they're starting to get to work. Wednesday, they're actually doing work. Thursday, they're thinking about the weekend. Friday, that they're mentally off. And so there's a lot of studies.
There's like 2.5 days of really core work being done. Yeah.
So if you can have a staff member work for 4 hours, or 4 weeks or 4 days out of the week, and get more efficient and be more efficient than what they were before, it doesn't matter whether they're using AI, whether they're using a hammer, or whether they're using a rocket, right? What matters is what is the value that's being provided? Is there integrity in what's being provided? And does that person at the end of the day, do they feel fulfilled? Because a lot of times companies, we forget that it's not about us, it's about our team. Do they feel fulfilled? Are they getting value out of this? Are they learning? Are they progressing? Instead of are they just being a slave to your mechanism or your machine? And
there has to be that QA, right? The quality assurance that it's good quality that's coming out of it, right? If it's just a bunch of, hey, it's done quicker. Yeah, I see that too with like social media posts, because we'll use it sometimes for that too. Like, here's a collective thought, a human thought, two people having a conversation, turn this into a social media post. And sometimes it's just a little off. It's like the AI like focuses on one part of it, but didn't get like the hitting home moment of the whole, like the feel good part of the conversation that was supposed to be the main aspect of the clip. And sometimes I'll just end up rewriting it myself. Like, I probably could have just did that quicker myself, but it's not perfect yet. It's getting better.
Oh, and then it's like a young child right now.
It's like it's like almost like a young.
It's an intern, man.
It's like a deer is just born, and it's like kind of like learn. But it's got the goofy legs going on still.
Yeah, but it's all about the data that you feed into it, right? That's why we built something that you're not feeding it in information about what your favorite food is. You're simply focusing on your vision, your mission, what your business is doing, where you're going, so you can focus. Because again, I think AI also is causing more analysis paralysis. I think it's giving us all kinds of directions to go to. And speaking of AI, just for your listeners, if you're going to be doing social media content, I'm going to teach this. I'm going to drop this right now. I spent hours trying to figure this out. You want to make sure that you're feeding it in your content, what you're writing. You want to make sure you ask it, what are my common words I use? What is my tone I use? What grade level do I speak in? What is my typical meaning behind what I'm writing about? And then once you can get that information, now you can start to say, okay, now I want you to write like me. And however, before you write like me, I want to make sure that you remove these common words, which you can find all over the place. And then what you want to do is you want to say, ask me questions about these subjects, because then you're speaking about your experience. Yeah, you've got a ghostwriter working with you, but you're talking about your experiences. You're not just saying, hey, write me a post about my business, or write me a post about, being on this podcast today and how fabulous. No, what was your experience of it? What did you learn? What was the points of it? And if you can give it more information, you're going to get a better experience. And I think a lot of times people are using AI like a crystal ball instead of like a thought partner. How do I explore?
Like they want it to just do the thing. But
Correct.
you have to like, it's like a magic trick. You don't just get to the magic. The magician needs to know how it's done, the sleight of hand, the whatever's behind the scenes that we don't know about, and then the big reveal. You can't just say, give me the big reveal. Like AI will give you something, but it's not going to look like the magic trick you want. It'll be just cookie cutter garbage that you and I, if we see 10 posts right now and 8 of them are AI and 2 of them are 100% human, I bet you and I, if we did like multiple choice quiz on it, we would probably
know.
We would know, because we see the common things. And again, when I see someone using AI, I'm like, oh, I could tell that post is written by AI. I don't get mad about, oh, they're cheating. It's not cheating. But if it's good, it's good, right? The quality assurance we said, like if it's hitting on things that are valuable for me to read, I have no problem reading it knowing that AI assisted. But if it's just that cookie cutter, like they didn't put any effort into this, they just used the prompt exactly the way that it spit back out at them, then that's when I kind of feel like it's just like anything in life, though. You talk to someone, you get to know them, and you kind of know that they're a little bit full of it, right? And it takes a few minutes of talking to them. That's basically what we're learning with AI. We're just getting smarter and knowing what it is. I'm with you, though. I just want to finish this thought. Like anyone who's tuning in right now, you're going to be in a couple buckets. You haven't used it yet. You're using it a little bit and getting familiar with it, or you're already rolling like Dalton and like you're at a high level with it. So you're in one of those kind of 3 buckets. And in all of those buckets, one thing's for sure, it ain't going away. It's not going to disappear. It's going to be used more. We're going to see better versions of it. It's turning everything that we touch pretty much is going to have, I believe, in the next 10 years, an AI component to it. So, and I think that's again, can be a beautiful thing when it's done for quality.
Yes. Yep. It absolutely is one of the most revolutionary times in history. It is a time where we've taken the combined human consciousness and we've combined it into a place of light. Light force equals life force. And if we use it that way as a tool, as something we're co-creating with, then everything changes, right? And so I would just say that for your listeners, if they have a business, if they want to start a business, yes, you can use ChatGPT, but the problem is it's not actionable AI. It is actionable thought. So to use something like a ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever, I like to use it and like pull out a book that I don't really understand, like say Nietzsche, which is very difficult to understand, and then use a vision model and then like literally take a photo of it and say, hey, I just read this and I use voice. This is what I believe it is. Can you explain to me what this actually is? Or like, what am I missing here? And so I use it as a tutor, as someone that can teach me and help me. So people are afraid of AI because they're putting in information that they're curious about. That's a whole different story. If we're using it as a thinking partner, that's a whole different story. But it's only going to amplify who you are as a person. And so what we did with Pono is we did all the heavy lifting. We did all the prompting. We thought about everything so that we can get your team making decisions and choices quicker, but not taking you out of it, because if you automate too much of this, it's going to go rogue. If you automate too much of this and you don't actually like pay attention to it, like this is there to help co-create with every single one of your staff members. And for you as the business owner, the founder, the visionary, it's there to work with you to help you get things done at a much, much quicker rate and taking off on average about 20 hours a week of work time for every single one of your staff members. And so that's what our goal is to end the confusion in chaos in everybody's life, because running a business is absolute chaos. And if someone tells you it's some easy walk in the park thing, you haven't done it long enough.
You said earlier, it's like, you feel like once things are going good or you break through that, you have that moment where you're on the ground level after you just had basically like your whole life. Yeah, we call it the crash and burn, right? Then you pick yourself back up, you dust yourself off, get that moment of clarity. And then once you kind of hit that first ridge on the mountain, you're like, oh, I could breathe. Things are good. We're seeing it. We're in the black, positive energy, growing the team, recurring clients, getting a lot of referrals, new business from marketing. You're in this nice spot, but that doesn't mean that's the straight line ever. Like if you do the right things more often than not, you have a better chance of success and recurring and repeat business. But there are going to be all these variables, and inevitable, it's going to be a rocky road where, because that's the stuff that's out of our control. But if we're doing the right things, we can basically stabilize it the best we can. And with AI, knowing how to use it, like you said, the right things, putting the right prompts into it, using it as literally an assistant. It's a digital assistant, basically.
Yep.
You're not going to ask it to do the same things. If you have an assistant who helps you with marketing, for example, like you were saying, you want them to have a creative marketing idea. You could ask ChatGPT or whatever, hey, give us like 10 marketing ideas in this space for this product. And now you guys can talk about it. And as humans say, hey, we like this idea, whatever. And now you can ask another prompt, right? All right, follow through on this. And what are some marketing tactics we can do? And then you start to build it out with your team, where that conversation over coffee maybe just would have ended with like an idea. And now after 30 minutes, you guys have like a strategy. And actually it's a mapped out strategy because you used AI to help you get there. That's what we're talking about here. I'm just I'm talking to you, but I know you know this. It's really for the audience. It's like just a real example of how someone can apply what we're talking about. I do have to ask you another question. Follow up to that, and then I want to ask you about sustainability with the success of both of your companies.
So I just want to add something real quick with what you were saying. I think that prompting is one pain in the ass. I think that it doesn't make any sense anymore. I don't think we're going to see a lot of prompting here very soon. And that is what we've done with our system, because I have interviewed many people. Most people don't understand prompting. And so we wanted to make a system where all you had to do is say, this is my problem. This is what I want to solve. This is what I'm creating. Here's the information on it. And then it would build you a physical map that you can follow, that you can put into a smart board or a Kanban board and just follow the steps. And if you don't know something, ask. So it's like literally having the smartest consultant that you can get that you're working with on a day-to-day basis. So you don't have to figure that stuff out, because prompting, I mean, I learned how to do prompt engineering and all that stuff. But every time I'd sit down and try to tell people like, okay, this is who you're talking to. This is what you're doing. This is your output. This is what you want. And then all of a sudden you lose the context of it and the content of it. And then the memory goes away. So it's like we had to solve for all those problems. And I think that I believe that we absolutely have on that. So that's what
Pono is designed for, entrepreneurs, right? That's correct. Specifically who you're serving. That's our audience. Yep. That's why I thought it was great to have you on. So what you just said there, to make sure I understood it, is basically it's not just another AI. It's not replacing ChatGPT. It's not like a Monica AI, which we use here. This is something that's multi-layered. It's like, instead of just putting prompts in and trying to follow it and make sure you're doing things in a strategic order, Pono is like walk someone through an example of how it would work differently.
It's a visionary's operating system. So the moment that you land in a Pono, you tell it everything about your business, as far as like why you got started, who you sell to, I mean, what the market you serve, what the products are, and so forth. Are you looking to exit? Do you need funding, and so forth? It takes all that information, and in the background, it builds what we call a brand brain. That brain is literally a database of everything about your company. And so now you can go in and you can say, hey, I want to build this project. And what it will do is it will help you build the entire project out visually so you can see it. Then at that point in time, you can assign it over to your team. So it's a business operating system as well. Like you can literally run your whole entire business from there. This is not, yes, we use chat, but it's not your typical kind of chat GPT, I want you to become this, or a prompt or whatever. And then we made sure that once the system sets up, depending upon what your business is, it says if I was to hire on people, these are people I'd hire on. And so it creates all these AI staff members that you can ask questions to, whether it's your marketing, your CFO, or someone in compliance, or whatever it is. It's making those determinations and decisions. Now, granted, you can still build, individual ones out if you choose to, but it just really gives people the ability to build a document. For instance, we were talking about MIT 45. I have one for MIT 45. And one of the things I was doing, I was looking at some legal things, and we don't really write legal documents, even though it will write them. Always run them past your attorneys, I mean, for legal purposes in general. But I wrote a document, and after I got done writing that document, and that it wrote, after I answered a handful of questions, I gave it over to other models, and I said, hey, can you analyze this document for me? How would you rate it? And it said 7.5. And I was like, great. Like, what kind of company wrote this? And it's like, oh, this was a consulting agency. Well, I'm like, what would they charge for this? And they're like $30,000 to $100,000. So it's because it knows so much about me, it's remembering everything about our company and our staff members and the way they work. It just makes things a lot easier. And if you build on something like this, doesn't mean our platform is the one that you're going to use. But when you go to sell your company, you have all your SOPs in place. You have everything you've ever done. And now you give that in the sell, right? Like this is an asset because you've built it so long and you've taught it and you've trained it. But it's not like you have to have any technical skills to do it. As a matter of fact, you could have never used AI and still done it.
Yeah, that's incredible. So it's easy to use, which is huge, like an important feature. And I love the fact that you say like it continues to learn over time. So it's like a brain. Yep. Just like an employee, it's going to get better over time. It's going to have more resources over time, but it doesn't forget. That's one thing I like about AI. I could be forgetful sometimes, and like AI is not going to forget, right? Right. So you build this brain, and it's a system. You know what it reminds me of real quick, and I know we're kind of running out of time here.
You're good.
But it reminds me of like you can do a workout at home with little to no equipment, or you can hire a professional trainer. You can go into a gym that has state-of-the-art equipment, and you can do fitness programs with them and have a strategy and system. And then your nutrition, you hire someone who's a dietitian, and they walk you through what you should be putting in your body. And there's a plan written out for you, and there's a strategy behind it. And the difference is you could do an at-home workout and just make your own smoothie, or you can have what you would get if you worked with both of those professionals put into a big ball, a system. And that's really what Pono is doing for people as, an entrepreneur. Is that kind of a good analogy?
That is great. You know what, man? I've been thinking about an analogy for a while. That is a great analogy. That is exactly it. It's, the thought process for me was when our company with MIT 45 took this big leap and went in different directions, when we could start to afford really high quality consultants. Like, we bring on some of the best people in the world to work with our company. Yes, it's a massive risk to do that, but if you can afford to bring on the best people in the world to solve the biggest problems you're facing, why not? And I wanted the rest of the world to be able to have that opportunity, because I know most of the people in the world don't have that opportunity, And I believe we can create many, many, many multimillionaires in the next 5 years. I mean, we've already seen companies right now that are getting astronomical evaluations. There was a gentleman I read about recently, or I saw something about, and I think he did $500 million in the last several, just crazy numbers. So the world is shifting extremely fast, and it is your opportunity. But if you're trying to figure out how to do things, no offense, but you're being an idiot at the moment, because you don't need to. You don't need to. You don't have to take the hard path. You can take an easy path from people that have been there, done that, and they know what it's going to take for you to succeed.
There's really no reason right now, if you're not willing to work hard, which that's you have to have that skill and trait. Work hard and have a good work ethic. If you come to the table with that and you use AI to help you get through your problems or struggles, if you're short on it, executing an idea, you come to the table with that's all you really need right now, right? Because you don't have to even have the brilliant idea, because you can get that from AI, but there is that human element where, knowing what to do with the information is important. But like you said, get around the right people, build a company. I talked about this, I almost feel a little redundant, but the last couple episodes, we talked about Apple and how Steve Jobs without Steve Wozniak, right? What does that company look like? Or one of the Steves without the other. And then not only mentioning it, there's more than just the two Steves in the room. There's a lot of brilliant minds in the early days that took those ideas and made it what it is. And then over time, the technology advanced and there's more people working on it. I saw something where Steve Jobs was rolling out the first iPhone and he actually didn't like the idea and didn't want to make a phone. But then he was like going on and doing his, what do they call it? Keynote, like when he's presenting it for the first time. There were people who were obviously telling him how it was going to work. Highly skilled, super trained, like brilliant minds that were pitching him these things that he had to speak on so he can put it into simple terms. Without those people behind the scenes that nobody knows their name, that whole thing doesn't even work. Like the iPhone would have been a flop. And so there's a million, like one great idea has a lot of stuff going into it. We're talking about adding an AI to shorten a lot of those processes. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, you've got right now, I mean, think about your company alone, right? You have all these different people that you work with, that you're responsible for, that you pay, that you want to have them win, because when they win, you win. Like it's truly symbiotic in that process. But if you were to, instead of, you had to create your SOPs and you had to figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what the steps are going to be and all that, that's a lot of work. And everybody thinks their businesses are so unique. Like, my business is so different. It's like, no, it's not. Your business has been done over and over. It's just a different way of doing it. You're serving a different market. You have a different type of marketing and branding. You're bringing you to the, to the business, but it's not anything different. And so those processes have still been done, and there's no reason, like at all, to allow something
to not get the information.
To not. Like even trying to write a business plan can be very difficult. Try to do it through ChatGPT. You're going to get an okay business plan. But because we've been there and because we understand what it takes, we think very, very differently than ChatGPT because, well, we're different engineers, we're different staff, we've had different experiences. And because of those experiences, we can walk in, like I could walk into your business right now and find efficiencies or inefficiencies on how you could probably do things better, right? So, but you don't need me to do that. It would cost way too much money. But all the things you've been doing, a lot of times companies will say, experts will say, you need a VA. You need someone to help you. Okay, great. You got a VA. You hired them on. What do they do though? Oh, now you have a whole other job that you've got to figure out what they do and how they do it. Yeah. You have no process, no procedures. There's no accountability. And so what ends up happening is you end up wasting a lot of time and money and energy. But if you can get that VA or that staff member like dialed in, like really dialed in, and they're self-sufficient, now all of a sudden, what do? You find someone else, you do the same thing, and you find someone else, you do the same thing, because it's about delegation. It's not about doing everything. You cannot do everything if you're going to do anything that's worth, that's really going to be a large business. It's making, $1 million a year roughly, right?
You got to be using it so you can be focusing your time and energy on the things you need to be, which in business, if you're like the CEO or the founder, it's new business. You got to be thinking about new business. And then, once you onboard somebody, don't just teach them in the moment. If you coach everybody in the moment and there's no documentation of it, now you don't have an SOP. But if you teach them, you document it, and now that same thing you did there, you can just, the second time you do it, it's already prepared. The third time you do it, it's almost like, just like with companies. I remember when I went to my first sales organization, you sit in the back room, they wheel out the cart with the TV on it, and they put in the DVD at the time.
I remember that.
All right. So that's how things were done. But in the early days, it was that person would have to drive to your store, sit with you and teach you. Then got to the point where here's a disc, just learn 2 weeks, just watch his videos. And now that's the same thing with AI. It's like before we had to learn it from the original source. And now we have SOPs and build a way to do it. And then we can redo that over and over. You're like stamping it instead of redrawing it every time. It's a stamp pad. I do have to give some love to our main sponsor, socialchameleon.us. You press record, we handle the rest. We handle all of your podcasting, your solutions, getting people on your shows. Great guests like Dalton on the show as well. We take care of that for you, turning it into, your social media marketing kit, opposed to just two great people talking in a room and maybe you can listen to it or watch it. It's really turning it into a brand kit once it's released. So again, go to socialchameleon.us. You can see how we do that for you. You press record, we handle the rest. We're also going to give some love here to our affiliates, riverside.fm. That's what we're recording on right here. So you're listening to us and seeing us if you're watching it on YouTube. We use riverside.fm to record this. And the way that we get it out on all the podcast platforms is libsyn.com, LIBSYN.com for Liberated Syndicate. And they've been around, the early days of podcasting, which probably 15 to 20 years ago, is like they've been around for a long time. So I love using them because I know they're not going anywhere, and they've been doing a great job in their support team. That's when you know a company is great. You have one little problem, you see what their support team's like, and they've been great over and over, time and time again. So, and the good news is we don't really need their support team very much because they're great. So thank you to our affiliates as well. I know you got to run. I got to run here too. Any last words you want to say? Is there something that like it's on your heart right now and you're like, man, if there's an entrepreneur, they got all the way to the end of this episode and there's one more thing I can tell them, I want to tell them this.
Yeah, it'll be this, as you said that, is that I know as an entrepreneur, it's difficult. I know there's a lot of fear every single day. And I can say this, if you do not chase your own fear and go after it and look it in the face and do the difficult thing and do the thing you don't want to do, that fear will continue to chase you.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. You got it. Yeah. You're never going to be able to fix it or get further ahead if you don't address it. Take that moment, moment, realize it's there. One of the things that I learned early on in life is like, before you can fix anything, you have to first realize it's there. Yep. It's a bad habit. There's a guy I used to work with when I was in the insurance business. He had a horrible habit of picking his nose, literally in the middle of talking with him. It's like, how does he not know it? He didn't realize he did it. How do you fix it? So you're just talking about your fear. How do you fix it? You got to realize it's there and then take action on actually doing something about it.
Absolutely. And one last thing, and that is I was thinking about all of your listeners. One of the things I would like to do, and is that we'll give your listeners a 30-day trial to be able to utilize it. We've been really debating about whether we want to do this, but I'll give you a code afterwards, and you can put it on the show notes.
Put it in the show notes. But anyone who's here to the end, man, there you go. You get this little bonus information. Or if you're, we're grateful if you're reading the show notes, because I know a lot of people probably just click play and they move on. But yeah, if you're reading the show notes and you see the link in there, utilize it. 3-day or 30-day trial, and they get the full system. What do they get for 30 days?
We'll give them access to the full system, as far as like, so they can get in there, they can build everything out, they can start to use a roadmap, and then if they want any of the documents, they can purchase those as well, because these are 40, 50-page documents. But the rest of the system for sure. But I want to get people just taking action. I want to get people in there to make sure that they're reaching their goals. And, we're going to start putting contests together where who's ever getting the best results, we're going to be starting to give prizes and money, because I want to see people win. And I can guarantee this to humans, or to anybody who's listening, I should say to humans. And that is that we are always constantly doing our best to be better and better and better and innovating with technology. And our system will only get better and better. I've got over $1 million of my own personal, my own money put into this project because I believe in it so much. And so we're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to grow and build with people. And I can't wait to start to see people say, hey, I exited using this technology. So
that's awesome, man. I like it's you put your money into it, you put your time and energy into it. You are living it, right? Like this is a big part of who you are. This is going to be part of your legacy. You didn't start it. A lot of people start a company, they just want to flip it. It's almost like they're in real estate and they're just flipping a house. It's like, that's to me never felt right. To me, I'm building a business because I love it. I care about it. It's my everything. And I want to see people benefit from this thing. And that's what you did with both of your businesses, which is why I believe they're successful, because they come from the heart. So guys, check out Dalton Locke in the show notes. Get connected with him. Spiritual Capitalist is the podcast as well, correct?
It is, yeah. We talk about spirituality and capitalism and merging both.
After you're done listening to this episode, go check that out right there. Got it for you in the show notes. Thank you so much, Dalton. You're the man. I really appreciate this conversation. Let's keep it going offline.
Thank you so much for having us out here. And you have an incredible show, and your listeners are in for quite the treat with the next episode you have.
I always say be great and be grateful, and I'm grateful for you, brother. Thank you.
Amen.